Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from a deleted user. And says, my wife secretly has run up debts with our friends. Hello, I've been a long time lurker on this subreddit, but never really thought I'd need to post here. Today, I'm here for advice, guidance, and maybe just to vent. My name is Jack. I'm a 36-year-old IT professional living in the US. I've been married to Alice, the love of my life, for 8 beautiful years. Alice works as a school teacher and is adored by her students. We built a comfortable life together, not lavish, but we never really needed that. We have our jobs, a small house that we rent but are proud of, and plans for the future. I thought I knew everything about Alice, and up until now, our transparency with each other was something I prided our relationship on. 2 weeks ago, our world was normal. Alice and I hosted one of our regular get-togethers with friends. I remember that night vividly. Our home was filled with laughter and stories, the smell of the homemade lasagna Alice prepared wafting through the rooms. I was mixing some drinks when I noticed our friend Bill seemed a little off. Bill is a chill, happy guy. Always the life of the party, but that night he seemed quieter or more subdued. As the evening wound down, Bill asked to speak to me privately. I could see the serious look on his face, and it instantly made me uneasy. We stepped outside, and Bill looked like he was having a hard time spitting it out. Listen, Jack. Alice came to me 6 months ago and asked for a loan. A big one. She said it was for some legal issue and that she didn't want to get you involved. I could barely believe what I was hearing. We had no secrets. Why would she hide a legal issue? Did she say what kind of legal issue, Bill? I asked him. No, she didn't, he replied, shaking his head, and just said it was personal and she'd pay me back in a month. Bill seemed really uncomfortable, almost as if he'd wished he could take back the conversation. I've asked her about it a few times and she keeps brushing me off and saying that she'll pay me back soon. But soon never comes around, and I didn't know what else to do, Jack. I thanked Bill for being honest with me, and he walked away, leaving me alone in the dark outside. I felt like our entire life was shifting, like I didn't know Alice as well as I thought I did. The image of Alice that Bill was describing was a stranger to me. I spent the night in a whirlwind of confusion and hurt, replaying Bill's words over and over and over again. I couldn't reconcile the Alice I knew with the person Bill was talking about. Over the next few days, I delved into our finances. Bank statements, credit card bills, savings. Everything was in order. No significant withdrawals, no hidden credit card statements. Nothing. But a feeling persisted. Driven by this growing unease, I did something I'd never done before. I snooped into Alice's personal email. I know it's wrong. I wish I hadn't, but I did, and there it was. A trail of emails to several of our friends, all asking for loans. I sat there, numb, staring at the screen. My mind raced with questions. Why? For what? And how could she? I was hurt and angry, but most of all, I was lost. I need to talk to her, confront her about what I've discovered, but I don't know how. I don't know what to say or how to begin. How do you accuse the person you love of something like this? I'm reaching out to you, Reddit. Any advice would be appreciated. And OP's already asked a big question in this one. What's that money for? Where's it going? Why she's spending it? It could be a million reasons that, I'm not going to guess right here because it could be anything. And I think all OP can do, and the comment suggested as well, is that OP needs to just confront this head on and ask what's going on. Otherwise, you're never going to get an answer. But one thing I always ask on stories like these, and any stories where trust is broken, is how do you come back from that? I just know I'd find that extremely difficult, knowing this borrowed money is going on behind your back, that, you were lied to about this money, that she was approaching friends and asking for this money, but not to tell you kind of thing. OP adds an update on this one and says, I've taken the time to read and digest all your advice and responses to my last post. The support and perspective I found here gave me the courage to finally confront Alice about the money. It wasn't easy. The whole conversation felt like a dream. The kind where you're trying to run, but your legs don't move. I showed Alice the emails. She was silent for a long time before finally breaking down. The truth tumbled out between sobs. Alice confessed the borrowed money was for her older sister, Laura. Laura had gone through a brutal divorce 2 years ago and had been struggling financially ever since. Alice has been secretly helping her pay her rent, utilities, even her groceries. To give you some background, Laura and I have never been on good terms. There's been a lot of drama in the past, mostly surrounding her blatant disregard for our boundaries and constant demands for financial help. Alice and I agreed years ago to distance ourselves from her toxic behavior. That's why Alice didn't tell me. She was afraid I'd get upset and refused to help Laura. Alice admitted to owing a total of $15,000 to 4 sets of friends. And the worst part, Laura still needs more money. I felt like the floor had dropped from under me. I was angry, lost, and betrayed. Alice had been secretly interacting with and helping Laura, a person we had jointly decided to distance ourselves from. Moreover, the massive debt she had accumulated without my knowledge has shattered my trust. So here I am again, turning to you as I'm at a loss. I love Alice, but this betrayal cuts deep. Not just the secret debt, but the constant contact with Laura, the person who disrespected me and our relationship so many times in the past. I don't know what to do. I feel like our marriage is on a precipice. How can I move forward from here? Then people was asking about the sister and what happened previously. The OP says, to give it a little more context, I'll tell you about an issue with Alice's family that created the rift in the first place. You see, Alice's family has a history of financial recklessness and disregard for boundaries, especially her mother and Laura. When Alice and I got married, we had big dreams. We saved aggressively for years, wanting to secure a down payment for our dream home. It wasn't easy, especially since Alice and I are pretty open with each other about our financial plans and dreams. Alice would often share our plans and progress with her mum and Laura. However, things changed when her mother's boiler broke down. She needed $3,500 to replace it and didn't have the money. She approached us for help, promising to repay by the end of the year. Given the situation, we decided to lend her the money. It wasn't a decision we made lightly. That money was part of our hard-earned savings for our future home. But it was Alice's mother, and she needed help. But as the year ended, there was no sign of repayment. I asked repeatedly, but each time I was met with excuses. It was obvious they had no intention of returning the money. The situation escalated to the point where I was considering legal action to recover the money. Alice begged me not to, resulting in a big blowout. After a lot of arguments and heated words, we decided to cut ties. During the height of our conflict over the unpaid debt, Laura decided to insert herself into the argument. She accused us of abandoning their mother and leaving her in the cold. She called us heartless and ungrateful. Her words were a slap in the face considering we had been the ones to help their mother in her time of need. I felt a hot surge of anger. We were the ones who had lent the money when no one else would, only to be met with unfulfilled promises and disrespect. We were the ones who had been understanding, patient, and we were still being called heartless. It was clear Laura had no understanding or appreciation of our efforts and sacrifices. It was the last straw. We decided to then cut off Laura as well, to save ourselves from any further hurt and betrayal. We told them both that we could not continue to lend money and that we needed to protect our own financial stability. So you can understand why Alice's confession was such a blow. Not only had she loaned money to Laura repeatedly, but she did so knowing Laura's past behavior and disregard for our boundaries. We had worked so hard to move on from the past, to save and build a life together, only to find ourselves dragged back into the same pattern. So now I'm stuck. I don't know how to move forward from this. My trust in Alice has been shattered and I feel betrayed. I'm torn between my love for her and my anger at her actions, and I still don't know what to do about Laura, who apparently still needs money. A month later, OP says it's been about a month since my last post and there's been a lot going on. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their advice, support, and even the tough love. I received a lot of private messages, everything from urging me to divorce Alice to suggesting we try couples counseling. Some of you have suggested that Alice might have unresolved family trauma that might be fueling her actions. Your perspectives have been invaluable, so thank you. After taking some time to process everything, I decided to sit down with Alice and ask her about her plan. I mean, what was her endgame with all the secret borrowing? She hesitated before finally admitting that she didn't have one. Her plan was simply to keep supporting Laura as long as she could, then come clean when she could no longer handle the debt. This revelation floored me. I asked her, and then what, Alice? What about our savings? We'd have to empty them to pay back our friends. At this, Alice became defensive. She accused me of being the one to force her to cut off her family in the first place. According to her, if I hadn't made her do that, she wouldn't have had to secretly borrow money to help Laura. At her accusation, I couldn't help but feel a sudden jolt of anger and disbelief. Alice, I never forced you to cut off anyone. We made that decision together for our own sanity and for the sake of our future together. I reminded her of the disrespectful way her family treated us, how they abused our kindness, how they broke our trust. I brought up the unreturned loan to her mother, Laura's vicious words, the years of boundary stomping. I told her that our decision to distance ourselves wasn't out of malice, but self-preservation. Alice sat there, tears streaming down her face, but she was stubborn. "They are still my family, Jack," she cried out. "I just couldn't abandon Laura when she needed me." I could feel the heartbreak in her voice and it tore at me, but I couldn't ignore the fact that they were in this mess because she went behind my back, because she kept a massive secret that now threatened to upend our life together. So you thought going behind my back, borrowing from our friends and accumulating this debt was the answer. And now what, Alice? Our savings, the house we dreamed of, everything is on the line. Is that worth it? There was silence in the room, and Alice looked at me and I could tell she hadn't thought this far ahead. She hadn't thought about the consequences. I felt exhausted, drained. Our conversation ended on that somber note, with Alice in tears and me feeling like our whole world was crumbling around us. As much as I want to understand Alice, as much as I want to support her, I can't help but feel betrayed. The trust in our relationship feels irreparably damaged. Final updates. Hello again, it's been quite some time since my last update, and a lot has happened in the year that's passed. I regret to inform you that Alice and I finalised a divorce a few months ago. It was a difficult decision, and it wasn't made lightly. We tried counselling, as some of you suggested. We tried to rebuild the trust that was broken, but the hurt ran too deep, and the wound kept reopening with every bill that came due, with every whisper of Alice's secret. Our savings, the ones we spent years building for our dream home, were used to repay our friends. It still stings to think about it, how our future was liquidated because of a secret debt. Alice has moved back with her mum. I've heard through mutual friends that they've been spreading some nasty rumours about me on social media. They say I abandoned Alice when she was only trying to help her sister. They paint me as the bad guy, but I've chosen not to engage. I know the truth, and that's enough for me. Despite everything, I don't wish ill on Alice. It's just that our life paths diverged. It was hard, but I've come to accept it. Today, I live in a small apartment, a far cry from our dream home, but it's peaceful and drama-free. I'm slowly rebuilding my life and my savings. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful. This is likely to be my final update on this issue. I can't express enough gratitude for the support and advice you all gave me through this difficult time in my life. It's a strange comfort knowing strangers on the internet care about your well-being. So thank you. Here's to moving on and hoping for a better, drama-free future. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Do you think there was ever a way around it after that trust has been broken? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Building Tile, who says, "Am I the arsehole for kicking out a couple who brought their baby and toddler to my wedding because I wanted a child-free event?" This couple I'm not very close with, but the wife is a longtime family friend, so I felt that I should invite her. To be clear, all of my invitations stated that there were to be no children at this wedding, but she and her husband showed up with their infant and toddler, who I think is like 3 to 4. At the actual wedding ceremony, I let it slide. I was preoccupied for obvious reasons. I also thought that maybe they planned to not attend the reception or to have someone pick the kids up before it started. My niece, who was our flower girl, and a few other kids who had to be at the wedding for one reason or another were getting picked up and dropped off after the ceremony ended. Anyway, the reception rolls around. I'm fast forwarding through irrelevant details about the wedding, but it was beautiful and everything went as smoothly as could be expected. The couple comes and lo and behold, they still have their children. I had many other guests and didn't really feel like dealing with it, so I asked our event planner to go over to them and discuss whether someone was picking up the child, as the reception and wedding frankly were not supposed to have children. I mean, everyone was drinking and loud and rowdy, and a crying child and another little one running around was not part of the plan. The infant already had to be taken out once during the wedding ceremony because of the fussiness, and the toddler was, from what I could see, already appearing cranky. My event planner went to talk to the couple. I could tell they were arguing with my event planner though, so I went over to help them. I think they thought I came to rescue them because they started going on about how rude my event planner was. I explained that I had actually sent him over to discuss the children. I reiterated that the event was child-free and said that I had stated so clearly on my invitations. The wife gave a sort of apology and then assured me that they were capable of minding their own children to make sure they didn't get in the way of anything. I said that wasn't really the point. That's when my now husband comes over, and he and the other woman's husband began going back and forth and things got a little heated. Finally, I snapped and said that they just needed to go, which thankfully they did without much more noise. Still, the whole scene was incredibly embarrassing, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid. I really hate that my wedding day had to be somewhat marred by this incident. According to my mother, everyone was talking about it and I guess enjoying a little dramatic entertainment. Was I the a-hole for making them leave? Very, very simple one for me, and that's I'm not the arsehole in this situation. It was stated from the very start. You wasn't rude about it at all, and then they're the ones who's turning up to make this scene at your wedding. Could you imagine being told no, don't bring children, it's not a child-friendly event, and you still bring them along? The absolute cheek of it. But Tez says not the arsehole, you stated this is a child-free event. They brought kids anyway. Then were asked politely. They should have taken the cue and said, wonderful wedding, but we have to get these dudes home for bedtime, then left. But no, they persisted. Causing drama at someone else's wedding is the ultimate douchebaggery. Not for you, obviously, but for someone else who is doing a no kids wedding. You have to know your guests. If you know them well enough to know that they'll make sitting arrangements, great. If you don't know them well enough, it's always worthwhile to give them a little call. Make sure they know this and maybe point to some sitting services your parent friends nearby you could recommend. But no, as a parent, there'd be no way in hell I'd bring my kids, when they were small, loud and drooly, to a no kids wedding. The closest I'd come would be a quick, hi, congratulations, my sitting arrangements didn't work out, so I can't stay very long. Just wanted to say congrats. Another user says not the arsehole, you said it in your invitation. It shouldn't be difficult for people. They don't get to decide what happens on your wedding day. It also sounds like you have some gossipy ass family and friends if that was the talk around your wedding, rather than you guys getting married. You are not the arsehole for making them leave or for not wanting kids there. You didn't do anything wrong at all. They were disrespectful, entitled arseholes. We can take care of our kids. Well, bitch, obviously fucking not. They clearly didn't give a shit about your request, so fuck them. Don't even feel bad about asking or even telling them to leave from an event they showed up to, breaking the rules for lack of better terms. And one more comment from House, who says not the arsehole at all. They were implicitly informed that no kids were invited. Now, from their perspective, maybe they did the things many parents do, which is assume that nobody will say anything if their kids are the only ones. The fact that you put it in print. I mean, the only other thing you could have done is call every parent individually to say, I just wanted to make sure you understood. But if you had, then they would have been mad that at the end of the day, they were typical people, only expecting an exception to be made just for them. The kind of manipulation. Oh, I know, but is it okay? Bullshit we all deal with all the goddamn time. You know you have to put your foot down when parents had a heads up in writing and ignored it. I do think it's sad because they came because it was important to them. It's just too bad they weren't ready to deal with the implications. I think I should say, I just turned down wedding invitations as a rule, but if I saw no children, I would 100% make an effort to go. I deeply appreciate that you did that. I think with few exceptions, children don't belong at wedding receptions whatsoever. So OP updates / edits the post and says, wow, this kind of blew up out of nowhere. Thank you all so much for the feedback. What I've gotten from this is that most people think the couple was rude. There are also a select few who feel that it's arseholish to have a kid-free wedding at all, which is interesting. By the way of an update, I have now learned that a few family members felt that it was inappropriate of me to kick out the couple. The wife apparently is still angry about getting kicked out, and the husband is falsely telling people that we threatened to call the cops on them. No one has said anything directly to me though. Anyway, the feedback here has helped me not to feel guilty about that and just realize that not everyone has the same ideas about tact and manners. That's really annoying that the family is turning this around on OP, saying that it was inappropriate of you to kick out the couple, not the fact that it was inappropriate of them to turn up with children after you clearly stated it was a child-free event. Wild. But what do you guys make of this situation to be a fly on the wall sometimes. Holy moly. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for joining me today, getting involved in the stories as always. You are absolutely amazing. Do not forget that. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. You bloody cheeky so-and-so. Much love.